They buried him in silence, but the grave listened. And now it speaks. What happens when a priest feeds on faith instead of preaching it? Tonight, we descend into the forgotten chapel of St. Verin, where saints are not saved, but served. If you find this truth delicious, like the video. If you want more sermons from the dark, subscribe. The shadows are gathering, and your attention is a candle flame in the gloom. Ready to dive in. The chapel smelled of damp stone and something sweeter, something that clung to the air like old incense and regret. Father Verin stood before his altar, not a place of worship, but a butcher's block carved from obsidian. On it lay the first offering, a young man known for his unyielding honesty, his heart a fortress of truth. Verin leaned close, his breath a cold fog against the man's ear. "You only speak the truth," Verin murmured, his voice like dry leaves. But truth is a rigid thing, inflexible. It breaks before it bends. Let me show you what lies beyond your brittle honesty. He did not use a knife. His fingers, long and pale, traced the lines of scripture tattooed on the man's arm. As he spoke a forgotten litany, the ink began to writhe, to bleed from the skin, forming dark puddles on the cold stone. The young man's silent scream was not of pain, but of confusion, as the truths he held so dear dissolved into meaningless, dark liquid. The cathedral floor seemed to drink it in, and a low hum vibrated up through the pews. The stained glass windows, depicting scenes of martyrdom, seemed to weep crimson light onto the altar. If you find this offering to your liking, bless this sermon with your approval. If you wish to witness the next sacrament, become a disciple of this channel. The bell will toll for you. The second to kneel before the altar was a woman whose compassion was a legend in the nearby villages. She had given her last coin, her last crust of bread, to any who asked. Her empathy was a blinding sun. Verin circled her, a predator admiring its prey. "You feel everything, don't you?" he murmured, his voice laced with a predatory pity. "You carried the suffering of others as if it were your own. A beautiful, tragic flaw, but a vessel can only hold so much before it cracks. Let me empty you." He placed his hands on her temples, and instead of comfort, a torrent of despair flooded her mind. Not her own, but the collected misery of 1,000 souls. The despair of the forgotten, the rage of the betrayed, the hollow ache of the lost. Her eyes widened, the light within them extinguishing as she drowned in an ocean of second-hand sorrow. The cathedral groaned, a deep, guttural sound from its very foundations. The stone walls seemed to sweat a cold, salty brine, and the air grew heavy, thick with unshed tears. The altar pulsed with a faint, greedy light. The next was a scholar, a man who had dedicated his life to knowledge. His mind a library of forgotten lore and ancient languages. He believed in reason, in logic, in the power of the written word to illuminate the darkest corners of existence. Verin smiled, a thin, cruel slash in the dim light. "You hoard knowledge like a dragon hoards gold. You believe. Understanding will protect you, but some doors are not meant to be opened, some words not meant to be read. Your wisdom is a cage, and I hold the key." Verin began to chant in a language older than symbols, a tongue made of shattered concepts and pure chaos. The scholar's eyes rolled back as the structured knowledge in his mind began to unravel. Axioms turned to paradoxes. Histories twisted into lies, and the beautiful architecture of his intellect collapsed into a screaming madness. He clawed at his own head, trying to silence the gibberish that had replaced a lifetime of learning. A tremor shook the chapel, dust and broken plaster raining from the vaulted ceiling. The very geometry of the room seemed to shift, corners sharpening, shadows deepening into impossible angles. The altar now glowed with a steady, hungry luminescence. Forth came the artist, a woman whose hands could shape clay into life and whose brushstrokes captured the essence of beauty. She saw the world not as it was, but as it could be, a canvas for divine creation. "Ah, the creator," Verin said, his voice almost gentle. "You seek to capture beauty, to make the fleeting permanent. But true art, true creation, is born from destruction. Let me be your muse." He guided her hands to a block of unmarked clay on a pedestal near the altar. "Show me beauty," he commanded. But as she touched it, her vision warped. She saw only decay in form, flaw in symmetry. The face she tried to sculpt became a monstrous visage. The flower she envisioned was a withered, thorny weed. Her gift of creation was inverted, twisted into a conduit for ugliness and horror. She recoiled from her own hands, weeping in disgust. The cathedral itself seemed to recoil. The beautiful frescoes on the ceiling began to peel and flake, revealing bare, weeping stone beneath. The organ pipes let out a discordant shriek, a single, agonizing note that hung in the air like a death sentence. The final offering was a knight, a man of unwavering courage. He had faced down armies, beasts, and the terror of the unknown without a hint of fear. His spirit was a shield of polished steel. Verin faced him directly, their eyes locking in the gloom. "Fearless," Verin stated, a hint of admiration in his tone, "the bedrock of heroism. But courage without fear is just ignorance. It is a light with no shadow to define it. What is a warrior who cannot comprehend terror?" Verin did not touch him. He simply opened his own mouth, and from it poured not a sound, but a presence, a void. It was the absolute certainty of known existence, the cold, silent truth that lay at the end of all things. The knight's sword clattered to the floor. His posture, forged in 100 battles, crumbled. For the first time, he felt fear, not of death, but of utter, complete annihilation. It was a terror so profound it unmade him from the inside out. As the knight collapsed into a trembling heap, the altar flared with blinding white light. The 5 sacrifices, the 5 broken virtues, had completed the ritual. The floor beneath the altar cracked open, not with fire and brimstone, but with a silence that consumed all sound. Something ancient, something fed by this perversion of faith, began to rise. Verin turned, his face no longer human, his eyes twin black holes. He looked directly through the screen at you. "You've seen the truth, you've heard the sermon, but this is only the first feast. Like the video, subscribe to return, or stay blind and be next on the altar."